If you're looking to achieve that next rank for end of season and want to just spam one champion to get there, then we've got you guys covered in this one, as we'll be providing you with 3 of the best champs to one trick for every single role. The 2 main pieces of criteria we always follow for these videos revolve around no champion who's featured will have a ban rate above 10%, which makes them easily accessible for you to one trick, and then secondly, of course, they have to be who we think are strong picks for the current meta. We're going to add in one more piece of criteria though for this specific video. Since it's close to end of season, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to really master whatever pick you choose to one trick, so we're going to feature picks who have lower skill floors, who you can pick up and not have to spend a ton of games on to really get the hang of them. So for instance, even though Zehen and Malphite are 2 of the best top laners right now, choosing them as your one trick is pretty much impossible due to Zehen's ban rate being 50% and Malphite's elevated up at 27%, so because of that, they aren't included in this video. And with Season 15 coming to a close, if you want to rank up the fastest, there's no better place to be than SkillCapped. First, start with any of our fundamental courses like macro, wave control, and trading to boost your general game knowledge. Then dive into our brand new Season 15 courses from Coach Rogue and Coach Chippy, along with our newly updated Jungle Clear course that covers the fastest clear for all the meta junglers in the game. And for whatever champion you're looking to one trick, we've got full game commentaries on them as well, where our challenger players walk you through how to climb out of the exact rank you're stuck in. We're so confident in the quality of content we have to offer at SkillCapped that we don't hide away from anything and offer you a 5-division rank up guarantee. Climb at least 5 divisions while actively using SkillCapped or get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below and get the rank you deserve for Season 15. So one of the best top lane champions to one trick for end of season who fits every piece of our criteria perfectly is Urgot. Urgot is a bit of a unicorn in the sense that he has a top 10 win rate across every single elo bracket, which is really rare to see, and his ban rate is less than 1%. There's definitely ways to express your skill on Urgot the more games you put in, but it doesn't take very many games to be able to play him at an impactful level. With E start, you have an incredible level 1, so you really want to get up to top lane and look to control the far lane brush. Sprint straight from base when you spawn into the game up into that top lane brush, and look to fight your opponent if they face check into you. If you take Ignite, have Bone Plating and Runes, and start your E at level 1, there are few champions, if any, who can actually beat you level 1. This is what makes Urgot such a strong solo queue champ, as you have the ability to take control of the lane right from the jump and generate a lead without needing any help from your jungler. For your build on Urgot, you always want to rush Black Cleaver and go into Sterix Gauge second, while Overlords or Jockshow are good third item options depending on if you want a more offensive or defensive power. And then for the rune setup, it's going to be Press the Attack with Triumph, Bloodline, and Last Stand, while Bone Plating and Overgrowth are for secondaries. Our second top lane selection is going to be a bit more low elo skewed, but one of the best low elo champs you can play being Garen. So if you're someone who's Diamond or above, then just sticking to Urgot is what we'd recommend. However, anywhere Emerald or below, Garen is a no-brainer pickup. Garen is actually one of the few champs in meta right now who has a positive win rate into Zehen. So if you don't want to have to use your ban on Zehen, it gives Garen more value. Garen's ban rate does differ depending on rank quite a bit, but even in Bronze, where he's usually banned the most, his ban rate is only 6%, so the fact that he's not even being banned out a ton in low elo right now is great. Garen is an amazing top lane champion to one trick for end of season because his skill floor is really low. You can't miss his damage and is just innately tanky without having to build any defenses. Because of this, you have a really good chance at being consistently impactful in every single game, and there's a lot less volatility compared to if you're playing someone like Irelia or Fiora. In order to rank up the fastest for end of season, you really need to limit the amount of stinker games that you have, and Garen's a great pick to ensure that. The core build for Garen is going to consist of a Stridebreaker Rush into Phantom Dancer second and Spear of Shojin third, while Conqueror is the Keystone rune. And for our third one-trick top lane selection, we've got another pick who's excelling across all elo brackets, being Singed. So in the past, Singed was a much more high elo skewed pick, but since he got those changes this season to where his Q Poison will execute minions, his viability as a low elo top laner skyrocketed. Singed is literally the highest win rate top lane champion in Silver and Bronze right now, and it's been that way for most of the season. Ban rate is literally non-existent as well, sitting under 1%, so you'll have no issues spamming Singed. Singed's kit is super simple to play at a competitive level because nothing requires any sort of mechanical skill. You just build AP Bruiser and then transition into tank so that you're really difficult to take down while still being able to output a good amount of damage at the same time. Singed is one of the most oppressive champions in the game when he gets ahead because of the fact that he can just run right up to his opponents with a million movement speed due to Ghost and his R popped, and he'll just stat check everyone around him. Your goal in the mid game and how to be most effective on Singed is to shove out side lane and then look for flanks towards mid when the enemy top laner is forced to retrieve the wave you just shoved. This is a pretty foolproof way of winning with Singed because it guarantees your team will have the numbers advantage around mid lane, and Singed on a flank is where he's at his best. A jungler who has remained a really powerful pick down the stretch and kicking off the top 3 for the role is Diana. So Diana Jungle is a really good pick to one trick for end of season because she's a top tier jungler with a ban rate under 10%, and her skill floor isn't all that high. Diana is a really easy jungler to be impactful on because of the fact she wants to full clear and she wants to hit her level 6 as soon as possible. Being consistent around this and hitting level 6 before the enemy jungler is how you're going to open up windows of opportunity where you have the upper hand. If you are always getting 6 before the enemy jungler and you force plays as soon as you hit level 6, then you're going to be able to snowball games really well with Diana. The champion thrives around grub fights because of her AoE impact from R, so if your mid and top laners have priority, you want to be forcing grub. The meta build for Diana makes her even easier to succeed with because you go AP Bruiser and have more margin for error as opposed to going all-out burst. Our second jungle selection is going to be one who's similar in theme to Diana and a really underrated pick being Zyra. So Zyra has the same kind of game plan as Diana early on, as she full clears really fast and can use that to her advantage. Zyra's full clear clocks in under 3 minutes, which means you're going to have completed your clear before most meta junglers, which opens up a window where you can gank before them or look to invade the enemy jungle while they are trying to finish their last camp. To rank up the fastest for end of season, you just have to play champs who can be reliably impactful in all games, and because of Zyra's super fast full clear, it gives you a big edge up in your ability to impact the map before the enemy jungler can. And then as you scale into the mid game as Zyra, she's always going to provide a great team fight. So with heavy emphasis around objectives in Season 15, fighting for grubs, dragons, and Otacon, Zyra provides so much value for you. And the cherry on top with Zyra jungle is the fact that players just aren't used to seeing her at all, so that unfamiliarity and enemies not knowing what to expect is always something that gives you an edge up in solo queue. What's really nice about playing Zyra in the jungle is that you don't need a mana item. You get enough mana sustain as is, so you get to rush Leandries for a super powerful one-item spike. For the rune page, you want to grab Electrocute with Cheap Shot, Sixth Sense, and Treasure Hunter, while Haste and Cut Down are for secondaries. One jungler who's just excelling a ton in the lower ranks right now and rounding out the top 3 for the role is Briar. So Briar just barely makes the cut for this video, with her average ban rate across all elo brackets clocking in at 10.1%. It does jump slightly above 10% in silver and bronze up to 11, but we're going to make an exception here because of how insane Briar has been performing in those low tiers. Briar is quite literally the #1 win rate jungler in bronze, silver, gold, and plat right now, so there's just nobody else you really need to prioritize if you want to climb out of low elo for end of season. Briar is what you could refer to as a stat check champion, meaning if you have an item lead on your opponent, then there's really no way for you to lose a 1v1. The majority of Briar's damage is point and click, so her skill floor is pretty low, which is exactly what we want in a champion that you're going to pick up and spam for a short amount of time. For the build, you have 2 main options right now, as you can either rush Blade of the Ruined King or rush Titanic Hydra. Blade does provide that % health damage, so if you are into a team who's going to be stacking more health, it's a good play, but if you're into a more squishy, bursty enemy comp where durability is more valuable, then added damage, going Titanic Hydra is the better option. And then for the rune page, you want to be taking Press the Attack with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, while Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter are for secondaries. So moving on to our mid lane picks now. The best mid lane champ that you can spam for your end of season climb is Swain. Riot just buffed Swain 2 patches in a row and have turned him into the perfect mid lane champ to climb fast. Swain's ban rate is just 2% right now, while he holds a top 5 win rate for mid lane across all elo brackets. So what's so great about Swain is that his kit is a lot more forgiving than many traditional mages. You build Swain as an AP bruiser so he can get really tanky, and this allows for more margin for error and a lower skill floor. The only downside to Swain is that he can be kited easily in fights by longer range, but there are a few ways you can alleviate this weakness. First is that you should take the summoner spell combination of Flash and Ghost. Ghost is going to be really high value for Swain in team fights to allow him to stick on his targets easier. And then for the build, you will look to pick up Rylai's, which is going to provide even better sticking power so that enemies cannot escape you. Key to note for the rune page is that Aerie has been outperforming Conqueror lately. With Swain, you really just need to get out of laning phase and scale into your mid game to be effective, and Aerie is going to enable you to achieve this easier. Second on our list for mid lane and the best assassin that you can play for end of season is Naafiri. So even though Naafiri is an assassin, she's one of the easiest assassins in the game, which makes her a great champ to pick up and find success with right away. Ban rate is sitting at around 5%, so in a really great spot to one trick. At level 6, you have the lock-on gap close with R, so it makes deleting the priority target on the enemy team way more foolproof than most other assassins. With Naafiri's meta build, it's even more insane because you rush Voltaic's Cyclo Sword, and the passive on the item gives you a 99% slow on auto attack, so you dive in, slow the enemy, and if they try to flash away, you just follow with the gap close from your E. This Voltaic rush in combination with Hail of Blades for the Keystone is really nasty right now, because as you slow the enemy with the Voltaic passive, it makes landing those 3 quick autos from Hail of Blades guaranteed. For a melee assassin, Naafiri's laning power is actually pretty strong too, especially when playing up against other melee champs because of the ranged poke she has from Q. If you can get good at landing both Q1 and Q2 with Naafiri, then the champion just becomes extremely oppressive in lane. A more underrated strategy on Naafiri that finds a lot of success in solo queue is going Symbiotic Souls for your boots. With Symbiotic, you get a ton of movement speed, and movement speed is such a key stat on Naafiri so that she can get in range of enemies to use her R. As long as you're in range of R, then you are going to assassinate squishies, so Symbiotic Souls are super strong on the pick. And then to round out the top 3 for mid lane, we're going off meta a bit with this one, but the champ is incredibly powerful right now, being Brand. So Brand mid is a champ that our challenger mid laner Shori really advocates for, and he's got a bunch of commentaries on our website which can help you out if you want to pick him up. With a ban rate of just 1%, what makes Brand mid so strong is the fact that he can play from such a safe range while being able to land poke and farm really easily. Brand's W into E combo is one of the most disgusting combos in the game because of the range of your E. All you have to do is throw your W down on the ranged minions, and then if the enemy mid laner is standing anywhere close to the wave and you use your E on the minions, your E damage will splash onto the enemy champion and provide uncounterable poke. Here's an example of this from one of Shori's recent Brand commentaries, as he doesn't even care about hitting Akali with W, he just W's the wave, then uses E on the wave, and the E damage hits Akali too. And then out of lane, Brand is incredibly strong as well, as his teamfight is one of the best with all the AoE damage potential he's got. You don't even need a ton of items to be impactful on Brand either. As long as you've got your Leandries, you're going to deal a good amount of damage in fights, so falling behind on Brand never puts you completely out of the game. So taking a look at a few ADC picks now, one champ who was buffed recently and is back in a great spot for solo queue is Tristana. Trist is a really good ADC to play if you want to try and climb the fastest, because she has the ability to make plays happen on her own better than most other ADCs. Your burst threat at level 6 is incredible, and with the gap close from W, you have the ability to jump in and burst out the enemy ADC if the enemy support leaves them alone. Trist doesn't rely on any specific archetype of support to succeed either, so she's really versatile, as you can pair her with melee supports or enchanters and find success. Overall, one of the best blind pick ADCs that you can play right now, which makes her a great champ to one trick for end of season. Ban rate is really low at only 2%, so you rarely have to deviate away from playing Trist. For the build, you'll either want Yuntal or the Collector as your rush item. Yuntal is ideal if you can base with 1300 gold. However, if you have to take an early base with less than 1300, then going towards the Collector is going to give you more power for lane. Rune page will consist of Lethal Tempo for the Keystone Rune, and then dip into Inspiration for secondaries, taking the recently buffed Cashback and Triple Tonic. Next up on our list for ADC with a ban rate of just 6%, who has been a top tier pick for quite a while now, is Ashe. So Ashe did get nerfed a bit recently, but the change didn't lower her power level a significant amount, and she's one of the best ADCs to pick up and be impactful on pretty quickly. You've got a really good laning phase with Ashe due to the long range from her W and auto attacks, so getting the push at level 1 and hitting level 2 before your opponents is something you should try to achieve in every single lane. Hitting 2 before the enemy can be extremely deadly with Ashe because of the slows from your W and autos, as the enemy will have to flash away if they want to escape. Such an underrated part about Ashe is that she can impact games in ways that don't involve dealing any damage at all because of the vision from her E and pick power from R. Most junglers in Season 15 are going to full clear and finish clearing at the very earliest around 3 minutes, so this is what you should look to do. You're usually going to hit level 3 between 3 minutes and 15 seconds and 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, so as soon as you hit 3, leveling your E and using it to scout the enemy jungler should make it so that none of your laners die to an early gank. So Ashe is an ADC who really helps you and your team get off to a great start early on in the game, which is such a huge perk to playing her. For the build on Ashe, you will be looking to rush Kraken Slayer into Phantom Dancer second and Infinity Edge third, while Lethal Tempo is the optimal Keystone Rune. And then to round out the top 3 for ADC is going to be an amazing hyper carry, as we've got Jinx. Jinx ban rate is super low right now at around 2%, but she's one of the best ADCs you can play, so that just bodes super well for you being able to one-trick her. When it comes down to straight up teamfight impact and being able to solo carry games, Jinx is hard to beat. Her passive just provides so much carry potential in fights and the ability for you to completely take over a game on your own. The 2-item core of Yuntal and Infinity Edge offers up a ton of raw AD, so if you get your Lethal Tempo stacked along with a passive proc in a fight, then your autos just hurt for a massive amount of damage. It's even better for Jinx right now because enchanters like Melio, Nami, and Karma are being played a bunch in solo queue, and if you get any one of them on your team, then the takeover potential in fights is insane. Your follow-up and chain CC potential when paired with engaged supports is just as good though, so very similar to Tristana, it doesn't matter at all who you play Jinx with, as she can be impactful regardless of her support duo. Kicking off the top 3 for support is going to be a melee support who has been severely underrated for most of the season, being Maokai. Maokai support is an amazing champion to one-trick if you want to climb fast, as he can heavily influence games without any sort of mechanical skill required, and his ban rate is literally 0.2%. The point-and-click route from W is the best gank assist tool in the game if coupled with flash, as it's impossible for enemies to dodge it. This just makes it so that messing up a gank from your jungler or messing up an engage is very unlikely, which brings a lot of consistency to the pick. If you're playing someone like Pyke, Thresh, or Blitz, you always have the variance of potentially missing a hook and completely missing out on a kill, but with Maokai, you never never have to worry about that. The value that Maokai's kit provides when fighting around key objectives is incredible as well, due to the zone control from his R and vision he can place with saplings. You know when you're fighting around Otacon and the enemies are just sitting in the tri-brush and it's really annoying because they have a control ward so you can't see them? Well, with Maokai, you just toss your saplings in there and it gives your team so much value in being able to see exactly where the enemies are. The standard Maokai build is going to consist of a Trailblazer Rush into Locket second, while Solstice Slay is the item upgrade. And then for the rune page, you are looking to grab Aftershock for the Keystone rune, while Inspiration Tree are for secondaries. A support that you simply cannot go wrong with spamming for your end of season climb is Melio. Melio takes very little skill to succeed with, while possessing one of the best kits in the game at keeping his carries alive. Ban rate for Melio is pretty close to 10%, sitting just below at 9, so he just barely makes the cut for the video. Melio really excels at keeping dive champions off his carries because of the peel power from his Q and R. So many champions in this day and age of League have gap closers, so Melio's Q being able to stop those champions in their tracks is such immense value. And even if you end up missing Q, then you have the insurance from your R, which is point and click, and will give your carry the cleanse and heal so they can kite away. As long as you're focused on playing around the most fed member of your team, then your ability to impact games on Melio is going to be great. The build that you'll want to run consists of an Echoes of Helia Rush into Moonstone second, while Dreammaker is the item upgrade. As for the rune page, you should be taking Airy for the Keystone rune and then Resolve for secondaries. And for our final support selection, we have a more lane dominant enchanter being Karma. So even though you have the Q skill shot with Karma, the hitbox is large enough to where it really doesn't take a whole lot of skill to hit consistently. What you want to focus on in lane to really increase your hit rate of Q is only use it when the enemy is looking to last hit a minion. Especially when there's a cannon minion that the enemy wants to secure, that's when trying to land an RQ is going to be really good value, because the enemy ADC is not going to want to give up their cannon minion. By poking away at the enemy ADC whenever they try to last hit minions, you're bound to generate a health advantage in lane, and that's when you can start threatening for kills. As you transition into the mid game with Karma, you become more of a protector with the shield and speed boosts you'll be dishing out with E. What's really nice about Karma is that she's an enchanter who can win lane really hard, and then with that advantage, she buys defensive items that allows for her carries to completely run away with games. The optimal build for Karma is going to revolve around a Redemption Rush into Moonstone second. The setup is all about providing as much shielding and healing strength as possible so that you can keep your carries alive in fights. As for the rune page, you want to take Airy for the Keystone, followed by Resolve for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So that's going to be all for our end of season edition of the best one tricks for every single role. Thank you all so much for watching, good luck with your rank climbs, and we'll see you in the next one.